Hey guys, it's James here with Kickstarter Board Game Spotlight. I'm joined by Brian over at Coldwater Crown.
Hello, how are you?
I am good.
All right.
Guys,
Ooh,
during the deal, if there's Dennis. Hey Dennis, Dennis, you are muted. So let me see. Maybe that's me that's got you muted.
how about that?
Perfect. There we go.
All right, I'm here.
All right, sweet. So we just got it started, and we're about to jump into some of our questions for the team over there at Coldwater Crown. They've got a really awesome game that I got to play at Dice Tower Con with Kicking It with Meg. I think she's also got a review up on it. And so I say we just jump right in and start getting you guys feedback.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
All right, so you guys worked with one of my favorite artists, not only because she's super talented, but because she's just like a really awesome human, Beth Sobel.
Yes.
She did viticulture, she did lanterns, and she's got some other stuff under there, but probably the two biggest ones. How was it working with Beth?
Well, first of all, I can just introduce myself. I don't know if anybody, if you all did introductions already, but I'm Dennis, doing the project management for Coldwater Crown. So, to answer your question, one of the things I've learned from this project in particular is just how valuable your team members are, and what it's like to work with some really talented and amazing people, not just Beth, but Brian and also Ryan Coleman, the graphic designer. Just working with all three of them to make this project has been kind of like a dream come true for me. So it's been a blast, and having people like that on the team makes everything else so much easier. So in Beth in particular, I can't say enough good things about her. I learned about her work obviously from some of the projects you mentioned, like viticulture and lanterns, and she's done other projects as well that have been popular. You can just go on Boardgame Geek and see all the things that she's done, but she is very down to earth person to work with. Obviously, her work you can check it out for yourself to just see how high quality it is. But when you are behind the scenes, kind of seeing the artwork come in, it's a whole it's a whole different world because. Just watching how somebody with that talent, how they work on a daily basis, seeing kind of the habits they have. I've learned a lot just by watching how she goes about her work on a daily basis. And like you said, being a phenomenal person too, she's really just easygoing and fun to work with, down to earth, like I was saying.
Sure.
So yeah, I can't say enough good things, and you can tell for yourself from the artwork how good it is. So. I'm really thankful we got the opportunity to work with her, and I'm hoping that maybe that's something we can do in the future too, if that's possible. She's already she's even come up with some new stuff because she's for the project, because she's working on things for the stretch goals now. If we reach the stretch goals, so I have some more great artwork to show people if we can reach that level.
Awesome. Yeah. She's I follow her on Twitter. She's constantly out there. She's proactive. It's really awesome to follow her. So.
Yeah, and she's a gamer too. That's one of the things I wanted to mention. So she not only does she understand the artwork, but she also understands game mechanics and gameplay. And so when I said this is a worker placement game, kind of European style game, she knew exactly what we were talking about, and she hit the ground running in terms of she kind of read my mind as far as what we needed, what kind of style we needed for the game. So.
And we were sitting there playing it at Dice Tower Con, lots of people walking around, and I mean, it's such a beautiful game that people were stopping like, what is this? Is this a fishing game? What is this? What is all this about? It's really, and it was just you guys had just sent me prototype stuff, so it wasn't like even high-end finished stuff, and people were really already wigging out about it. So that was kind of awesome.
Yeah, her stuff deserves the high-end look. So it's like what you see now is going to look so much better whenever it's finally manufactured and produced. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, so I think that's a really good segue to roll into. Initially, when I saw it, the theme is not our typical themes that we see a lot of times right now, right? You guys went outside the box, so I know a lot of people are probably going to look at it and go, I'm not really into fishing, so am I going to want to play a game that's about fishing? But with that, the theme flawlessly works with casting it and setting a hook. And so I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about that. First of all, I loved it, and I don't give a crap about fishing. Pun with the crappies, I don't care. I don't like fishing.
You're not the only one who said that. So and
I loved it. So whatever, right? The other thing is, like I said, the mechanic works flawlessly. So Brian, it's kind of a question for you. Did the mechanic kind of lend itself to the theme, or did you already know that you were kind of going with a theme for fishing and that inspired the mechanic?
I can kind of answer all of those kind of questions in that I need to thank Dennis for at least taking a chance on a fishing themed game, because this didn't start out as a fishing game. It's a mechanic driven game that had multiple themes throughout it. And when I showed it first to Dennis, Dennis saw me post some stuff on Twitter, and it was a completely different game. Same mechanic, though. Place a token, pick up a token, remove some gems. Theme was different, though. Gameplay was different. But when I came to him, I told him he was interested. He was all in. But I said, I'm not quite happy yet. Give me some time, and I'll come back. And I think I dropped it on him about a month later. I said, this is a fishing game now. You into fish? Because, and I think, and the thing is that like the answer, kind of the first thing about people not like fishing is that the reason why it's stuck with fishing when I, started running with fishing is how much people asked, hey, you got that fishing game? And it was no longer did I have to push my game on the table as a play, trying to get those play tests in. They were coming to me, and is it the mechanic or is it a theme? But I really truly believe it is the theme, and people really get into the excitement of that fishing. It kind of has that gotta catch them all. I hate to do the Pokemon thing, but like you want all these fish, and you kind of get excited about catching these fish, and that one that you missed last game, maybe you want this game type stuff. So that's just kind of. I'm glad he kind of took a chance with me on the fishing. It's a double-edged sword to be unique or trying to do something different, because you're going to hit all those people that want something different, but then to everyone else, it's something different, and they don't know if they want to jump in with 2 feet on a fishing game. So
Yeah.
And that's what I like. I mean, I don't care about fishing all that much personally either, but the fact that it was different really drew me in. It's not just another fantasy game. It's not just another sci-fi game. As good as those are, it's something that it gives you a fresh experience. It's a completely different experience than other games you've played, and that's what I love about it. And that's something that I'm always looking for games that are going to give me something new, something that other people haven't done before. So this one really hit home for me with that.
Yeah, I mean, and that was, I think, the biggest thing too is you hit a home run with the art with Beth, because while it is unique and different, it's bright, it's clean, it's crisp, it's just really pretty, so people get sucked in. I like playing things that look good if I'm going to stare at it for an hour,
Yeah, me too.
That was the thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
You're good.
I was just so glad that Dennis took the art direction in the way that it was realistic. That's kind of what I wanted. I wanted this true to the fishing. I didn't want like whimsical and funny, because that's where most of the fishing games kind of go. And I kind of wanted to try to stay true. And he did that. He did that beautifully. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got Beth to do the art. It was amazing.
Yeah, we kind of wanted a serious look to it, because it's not. Even though it's a family game, it's kind of a light midweight Euro. It's a serious game. I mean, it's a strategic game, and it really sometimes it takes some brain power to really work through the puzzles that you're going through in order to actually catch some fish. So we wanted to emphasize that with the artwork and make sure that people understood that this is a serious, or as I've been making advertisements for Boardgame Geek saying that this is a game with bite. It's not just a fishing game. A lot of fishing games you see are kind of really really loose fishing games, but this one it takes some thought to really play it well.
Well, yeah, and that's something I was going to talk about a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and say it now because it makes sense. But it was one game I had like 6 pike that I'd caught, and you can catch a fish really easy. That's not how you win the game, though. I got crushed that game because that's just not the score mechanic. We'll get in that a little bit later. But let's talk real quick about the one thing that I think obviously stands out is the mechanic, the setting the hook and the cast and the setting the hook. So, Brian, you want to talk about that a little bit about what inspired you there with the double action, put down, pick up situation?
I always do everything mechanics first. So for me, I don't have like games on the shelf. I have mechanics on the shelf, and I don't know if that's a bad way to do it or the good way. It's just my way, and I will get something that I know is a solid core, and I'll run with it. And what I was trying to do was, it was just simple action of, okay, I need to place this token down on that color to remove these colors. Let's say just the tackle box, out of the tackle box. And that was easy, but if you just place one, right, it's very slow. So then I thought, well, I can cut the game in half if I place one and I pick one up. So now I needed these kind of constant tokens out in play that we all kind of shift around. So that was great. I could place one, I pick one up. But then I thought, okay, well, can I make that even faster? What if one of the tokens was special and it could make it even go faster? So then I had them where it was just ones and twos. And that was kind of stale. And then I thought, okay, well, what if I put a 1 on one side and a 2 on the other? So it just kind of grew from there, of me just trying to speed up a game. I was really just trying to make a game that would crunch down just a lot faster than my last game. So my last game is probably about 25, 30 minutes per player. This game I was totally focused on trying to get in that 20-minute per player, 15-minute, 20-minute per player if I could. And the way to do that was to think about how can I just cut my actions and cut the game in half.
Yeah, yeah. And to that point, there was quite a few times, I think I played it 3 or 4 times, that I would be angry that no one would pick up their token off the blue so that I could have some free place to put some stuff. And then, you know, if you didn't work the port correctly, you would just be sitting there with no bait. You're not catching any fish.
Having no bait on your board or low amounts of bait is great. You're about to catch a fish, but it is awful for your actions, right? Like you have no opportunities if you have one color bait on your thing. So if one color bait is great because you're about to catch some fish, but now if that spot is blocked, well, in this game I always say that you can do anything that you want. You just can't do it in the order that you want to do it in. So that's kind of the weird thing that I like about this game, is that you can do whatever you want. No one can block you. You just can't do it in that order. And so sometimes if someone can set it up to where they block you kind of on your first play, you've got to change your strategy up. So yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the puzzle of not necessarily casting, but the pickup so that I could get the combinations that I wanted. Because a lot of times I really enjoyed getting the lures. I found that gave me a lot of flexibility. And so if I could get 3 or 4 lures, I'm over there like, all right, so I don't care that I have a bunch of yellow because I'm going to use one of these lures and get a red fish anyway. So, ha, suckers. And that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's what the tackle is designed for, to kind of help alleviate kind of some of that puzzle feeling and help you make some of those, break some of the puzzle elements to it so you can get further along in the game. But you'll notice there's not a lot of that in the game. It's difficult to get that tackle because I really want those to be a special element where still the main concept of the game is solving the puzzle on a turn-by-turn basis. So
yeah, it felt really good to hit that combo where you would cast, get the thing that you wanted, reel it in, you catch 2 fish, maybe sometimes 3 fish if you did it just right. I mean, it was really satisfying because most of the game's not like that. You know, you get it's like 1 hit, 2 hit, 1 hit, and then you get that one string that you nail, and I mean, it's just really satisfying. It's almost like playing bingo, and you hit the thing, you're like, I got it, finally. I might still lose, but...
And then you flip the fish over, and you find out what it weighs, and you have that whole excitement over again, and you have the excitement at the end when you're returning all your fish for the challenge, too. So. Yeah,
and the Master Angler was the other thing that I enjoyed a lot. So during the game, you know, you can get the Master Angler, and as you're discarding your bait from fish that you've caught and or are trying to catch, you can try to match those up to the specific fish that you're going after. And I found that balance of trying to catch fish to score points so that I could win at the end on those points, but then also at the same time maximizing and being efficient to discard to the right colors was a lot of fun too.
Right, it's just an extra challenge, and it feels great whenever you're doing both of those things. You're catching multiple fish at the same time when you're able to line those things up. So. Yeah, whenever Brian introduced that mechanic, I was pretty stoked about it. It always feels great to me. So.
Okay, so we've kind of covered the game. We've talked a little bit about how you guys got it to where it's at. So let's, like I said, I've played it 3 or 4 times. This is kind of my way of reviewing, and so let's talk about the pros and cons that I saw from the game, and then I want to get your guys' feedback on those things.
Sure.
So on the pros, I want to list those out because they're pretty easy. Gorgeous art. We've kind of covered that. Quick streamlined gameplay. I think most games were in the first game was about 60 minutes, but after that they were more like 45 minutes for 3 to 4 players. The clever mechanic, it's a lot of fun. It's everybody wants you see that light bulb go off in the players once they figure out the whole cast in the pickup and trying to be efficient with it. I think it's a great light to medium worker placement. It's really accessible to anybody. Anybody, any level could easily be taught the game. And it has quite a few different paths to victory. So those are kind of all the pros. Is there anything that I missed on that list that you guys would add?
I remember you were sharing this list with us earlier, and I was just kind of checking them off in my head as saying, yeah, yep, you got that, you got that, you got that. And those are all things that that personally I'm looking for in games. Is like I'm always looking for something that's new and a little bit different and unique, something that's going to make you think about games differently, or maybe even think about the world differently if you can. This game has that. I'm thinking about, is it high quality? Is it something that you're gonna be proud to put on the table and own? And this game has that. Another thing I look for is it going to be engaging on your turn in between turns? And it's both of those things. So you covered that as far as what you were talking about, and I love how in this game you're even trying to solve the puzzle as you're waiting for the other players' turns to go, and you can really play more effectively even if you take time to do that. And then another thing, like you just mentioned, is the accessibility. It's something that I personally really value, just in not feeling like I'm excluding people from the game that I want to play. It's a game that I can invite people to play in. And this one in particular, I feel comfortable inviting people who are not gamers to come and sit down and play it with me, because I know that once they grasp that kind of core concept of casting and reeling, they're going to understand it, and they're probably going to really enjoy it too. But at the same time, it has some of that depth that gamers are looking for. So all the things you mentioned, I think, are spot on. And I think I think those are some of the highlights and the selling points of the game.
I definitely saw, because I have one of my group members is a little bit prone to analysis paralysis,
Mm-hmm.
and your game did a great job. Because of the limited actions that you can do, it kind of helps them put the blinders on and really focus on what they're doing. But then within that, there was still a lot of choices, so it wasn't like, it was good. So
yeah, I hate waiting for people. If I sit there and I have to wait too long, and I'm wanting to get into the next game. So this game is just a great balance between having strategic thought and thinking, and then also feeling like the turns are wrapping up quite quickly and moving on to the next player in enough time. So.
Okay, and so now I want to roll into the few things that I heard from people around the table that they didn't like, so that you guys can kind of rebut those things and maybe tell us where we just missed it because we've only played it 3 times and you guys have played it 500,000 times probably at this point. But the first and the most mentioned over and over was luck factor, that they couldn't do what they wanted to do strategy-wise because of the blind draw of bait from the bag. The weights of the fish being not knowing what you were going after, so you would go after something and it not be as beneficial as you thought, and or the fish, how they come out on the board, because there are sometimes you get like 18 pikes up there on the shore and there's nothing you can do about it. So I want you guys to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, as far as the luck factor is concerned, I think that's one of the elements that really keeps the game fresh for me. And also, a lot of those luck elements that you described affect everybody at the same time. So, for example, the way the fish are coming out, yeah, that's affecting the fish I'm catching and the strategy I'm going after, but it's also affecting Brian's strategy and this person's strategy as well. So the luck gets kind of, I don't know, diffused or taken away, mitigated a little bit with that element because it's affecting everybody. And then with the bait coming out and how there's different draws on your turn, I mean, that's one of the things that keeps it fresh for me, because every single turn and every single game, it's not like you have a set color of bait that you're playing with. Every game you're going to have a different combination of bait, and you have to really navigate that new puzzle, that fresh puzzle every game, so you can catch the right fish that you need. So there's also an element with it, is that it feels so much more like fishing with there being this luck element. I think if there wasn't any amount of luck in the game, it would feel more stale, because fishing has this excitement that's attached to the fact that you can't control what the fish are going to bite at. And whenever they do bite, that's the moment that everybody fishes for, is that moment of reeling the fish in. So this game really captures that feel in a really cool way. And I think the luck element has a big piece to play in it. And I think Brian would probably agree, but I don't know if he has anything else to mention at that.
I think he said everything that I would say. I think the gems out of the bag. You hear it at the table. Sure, Susie pulled out a bunch of red, or maybe they only got two colors, or they're gonna they left maybe one red in two zones and they're about to catch two fish. But you'll start to notice that when someone gets a lot of gems and they catch fish, even it may be fast, they slow down. So once you catch fish fast, you're in a rebuild phase. So you'll notice at the end of the game, it's generally someone hits 12 fish and everyone else is one or two fish away. Um, and so it seems to always kind of balance itself out there. Another thing I notice that the players will learn is that I'll notice is new players will try to do it to where they try to leave the same colors in each zone to do one fell swoop of catching three fish at the same time. But guess what? The fish that are in there are probably going to be a couple duplicates, right? So you tend to notice that that's not the best strategy. You want to kind of dial in a little bit more on catching your fish instead of trying to catch them all at the same time. And the pike, the ones with a pike was kind of a choice on my part. Is that if you notice the lake, or sorry, the river and the shore have 4 different species, where the lake I went with 3, and I made 10 pike. So that's why you see so many pike. And I wanted to emphasize those other 2 fish, the perch and the sea trout, so that when you see them, it became this red flag of I better get that before this thing fills up with a bunch of pike. But I think he hit everything probably better than I did. I probably sounded more defensive than he did, but I think he hit it fine.
Yeah, and also Brian has made it so that it's not just you have to get this one color all the time, because each fish can be caught with 2 different colors. So even if you have the colors that are coming out that maybe don't match up with the Master Angler card, you're trying to remove those bait and get it on the Master Angler card. Maybe they do match up with a fish you're trying to catch on the board. So there's other elements like that mitigate some of that luck as well. So, and then you're playing against, and like I was kind of saying before, you're playing against the other players, and they're also playing against you, but you're both playing against the board. So in a game where maybe a perch doesn't come out, so you can't get that species challenge and get the perch, the roach, and the flounder, well, nobody's going to be getting that perch if it's not really coming out. So that helps to lessen some of that as well.
And I kind of want to, and I think I prefaced it a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that that was a really nitpicky con. I always try in these interviews to because no matter what you make, somebody's going to find something wrong with it, or at least in their eyes. But I wanted to go ahead and let you guys have a rebuttal on at least the one thing that I heard, but it was still minor. Everybody who said that, it was always a caveat to, I had a lot of fun, but that's the one thing that if I had to mention something. And so with that, I also want to talk a little bit real quick about the future going forward here. Do we have any? I know I had a fan on the page ask expansions. They want to know, is there expansions planned in the future? And is there any plans for a solo play rule set?
Well, the answer is yes to both. There's a lot of great extra content that we have planned. So once we reach the funding goal, if we do, then we'll begin to announce more about the stretch goals, but I'm going to give you some kind of like a preview heads up. So first of all, the solo play, Brian has already designed solo rules for it, and they work really well, where it feels pretty much just like the game against other players, except you're obviously not playing against the other players. He has a really quick and easy mechanic for the other players taking their actions. You can actually read the rules of the game and the solo rules if you go to the Kickstarter page and click on the link that lets you download the rules. Scroll to the end of the rules, and you'll see the rules for the solo play. So that's coming, and that's included in your pledge. So the base game comes with the solo rules. You don't have to worry about any stretch goals for that. And then there's also there's a mini expansion called the Jetsam promo pack, and that is 4 cards. They kind of work like fish cards. They're going to be out on the board, shuffled into the various fish decks. And the Jetsam is kind of this concept of sometimes you catch something, but it's not a fish. And you'll even see on the cover of the game where the hook, the fisherman's hook, is hooked on a trophy. And so we tied in that element of sometimes you're catching something else. And so that card is similar to how you catch a fish and you flip it over and you look at the weight and you have this moment of excitement seeing what you have on the back. In the Jetsam pack, you catch like a crate of something that was just tossed overboard, and then you flip it over, you find out what you caught, and it gives you various bonuses, and some of them are not very positive as well. So that's included, and that's not going to be for retail, so that's only for Kickstarter backers. Um, so that's something to look into getting. After that, so if we reach some of the stretch goals, we have some bonus artwork, some things that Beth is already committed to be doing. And so, for example, there's like a Kickstarter edition trophy, so you can get to see a different look at those trophies that I think are gorgeous. Then there's also a couple other mini expansions. There's one called the Lunker Challenge, which is we were doing some development on this, and some of my friends who are who like fishing and who go fishing. I don't do that very often, but he said, I'm surprised you don't see the word lunker anywhere. I had no idea what a lunker was. So I went and researched, and apparently a lunker is kind of like the heaviest fish, or this is really big fish that is kind of lunking out in the lake somewhere. So the Lunker Challenge is like a wager, and we tied it into a concept that Brian had created earlier with the game where apparently people who go fishing out like to wager on the contests. And so this contest is a wager on who can catch the heaviest fish, and it just adds kind of a unique element to the game, as you're not sure if you wanna throw in your points to wager or not, because you don't know if you have the heaviest fish because you haven't revealed it. So I'm excited to release that one, and then later on we also have some ideas for some extra species challenges. So, for example, the current species challenge. If you haven't played the game, a species challenge is just if you catch a certain like 3 different types of fish that are specific types, you're going to get this trophy. And the first person to do that gets the higher trophy than the next player, and the next player after that gets an even lower amount of points. You want to try to get there first, and it adds this kind of racing element to the game, which is really cool. So we have a couple extra ones planned that switch up which of those fish can be caught in that species challenge. And you would think that maybe that would be the same type of gameplay, but it actually will change the gameplay more than you would think, because the current species we have picked are like the smallest species on the board. Mm-hmm. So they're the species that aren't bringing you a lot of weight. So you're going after these small fish, even though you probably wouldn't normally go after them. So we have a couple other options that we're going to be releasing as stretch goals if we can reach those levels. And then the biggest stretch goal we have that relates to an expansion is called the Sea. And so as you can see in the board now, there's already the lake, there's the river, there's the shore. Well, this is based on an Irish fishing tournament, and a fishing tournament on the North Atlantic. So we're going to get away from the shore. We're going to kind of pull back a little bit from the continent and get out on the sea, and there's going to be some fish out there. There's some artwork that Beth's working on right now, and that's going to be able to promo what one of those fish is going to look like. And the sea fish are going to get scored a little bit differently than the river, the lake, and the shore challenges. And you'll just have to kind of wait around probably to hear a little bit more about how that works. But they're going to score a little differently. It's going to add a different flavor to it. And we're also going to be adding some wooden tokens to the game, where each player gets a wooden token that is their boat or their ship. And that ship is going to have to go out to sea in order to catch the sea fish. But when you're out at sea, that's going to cause some challenges, because when you're at sea, you can't come back to the shore, the lake, and the river to catch the shore, the lake, and river fish. So you're going to have to do a little bit better job balancing where you're at on the board, not just as far as where you're placing your tokens to remove your bait, but also whether or not you're at sea or whether or not you're back at the mainland with the rest of the fishers at the fishing tournament. So, and there's also going to be another Master Angler card that's going to be introduced with that expansion as well, which you'll have to wait and see some images from that. But that's another bonus with that one. In addition to that, there's other content improvements, upgrades to the physical components in the game. One of the things that we like to play with is like an extra wooden box to put the bait in once you've removed it, like a discard pile. That's a pretty expensive component, so that's a little further on up the stretch goals. It's not really needed for the game, but that's one of the things we're looking at adding as well. So, and others, but that's a quick overview, I think, of the things we have planned.
Yeah, I want that in my pledge, please.
So I'll be included awesome in the pledge. Yeah, it's just that's a lot of things. I mean, those are a lot of components to add to the game. A lot of extra artwork, a lot of extra weight to the game to mail out to backers too. So that's one of the reasons we really need to reach some of those upper funding levels so that we can choose to include those.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think we've hit it all, guys. I think we've covered it well. You guys have anything else you want to add?
Just thanks for having us on. I mean, it's been fun to talk about the game. I love this game, and I'm excited for anybody who gets to share it with us. And like I said before, I've just been blessed and excited to have had the opportunity to work on this team of people with this game at this time in my life. So I'm happy about all of it.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you for giving us the time to talk about it. I appreciate it.
Sure, yeah, it was awesome. So, all right, guys, this was Kickstarter Board Game Spotlight. Dennis, Brian, thanks for coming on and talking about your awesome campaign. Guys, it is live right now. It's got 20 some odd days left, I think, or so. So plenty of time. Get in there, back it. Let's get it done. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.
All
Thanks,
right.
James.
Thank you.